morning sun cast long shadows across the military base as Captain Maria Fernandez walked toward the shooting range. Her boots made soft sounds on the concrete path. She carried her rifle case with steady hands, the same hands that had been holding weapons since she was 12 years old back home in Texas. Today was different, though. Today she would face General William Hayes, a man who had spent the last 3 months making her life difficult. Before we dive in, tell us, where in the world are you watching from? If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow's episode is truly mind-blowing. Let's get started. Maria was not like other soldiers. She had grown up on a ranch where her father taught her to shoot cans off fence posts from 200 yards away. By the time she was 16, she could hit a moving rabbit at 300 yards. Her accuracy was not just good, it was extraordinary. But General Hayes did not believe in women soldiers, especially ones who claimed to be better shots than his best men. The shooting competition had been his idea. He wanted to embarrass Maria in front of the entire base. For weeks he had been telling other officers that women had no place in combat roles. He said their emotions made them unreliable, and their physical limitations made them weak. Maria had heard these comments through other soldiers, but she never responded. She just kept doing her job better than anyone else. At 9:30 a.m., the shooting range was full of soldiers. Word had spread quickly about the competition. Some came to support Maria. Others came to watch what they thought would be her downfall. General Hayes stood near the judging table, his chest full of medals catching the sunlight. His gray mustache was perfectly trimmed, and his uniform was spotless. He looked like the kind of military leader you would see in movies. Maria arrived exactly on time. She did not rush or seem nervous. Her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, and her uniform was simple but clean. She carried herself with quiet confidence. When she saw the crowd, she did not show any emotion. She had learned long ago that showing fear or excitement only gave bullies more power over you. The range officer, Sergeant James Wilson, explained the rules. It would be a 5-round competition. Each shooter would fire at targets placed at different distances. The first target was at 100 yards, then 200, 300, 400, and finally 500 yards. The targets would get smaller as the distance increased. Perfect accuracy meant hitting the bullseye center 5 times in a row. General Hayes stepped up to the firing line first. He was known as a decent shot, though not exceptional. The crowd watched as he took his position. His first shot hit the target but missed the center by 2 inches. His second shot was better, hitting near the bullseye. The third and fourth shots were similar, close but not perfect. His fifth shot missed the bullseye entirely. The crowd clapped politely, but everyone knew his performance was average at best. Now it was Maria's turn. She walked to the firing line without any hurry. She opened her rifle case and removed her weapon, a standard military rifle that she had maintained perfectly. She did not need any special equipment or modifications. Her skill came from years of practice and natural ability, not from fancy gear. As she loaded her first round, General Hayes made his first mistake. He spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Let's see what the little lady can do. I bet she'll be lucky to hit the target at all." Some of the soldiers laughed, but others stayed quiet. They had seen Maria shoot before during regular training, and they knew she was different from other soldiers. Maria did not react to the comment. She had heard worse things from better people. She focused on her breathing, just like her father had taught her. In through the nose, hold for 3 seconds, out through the mouth. Her heartbeat slowed down. The noise of the crowd faded away. All that existed was her, the rifle, and the target 100 yards away. Her first shot was perfect. The bullet hit the exact center of the bullseye. The electronic scoring system showed a perfect 10. A few people in the crowd whispered to each other, but Maria was already preparing for the second shot. The 200-yard target was smaller, but Maria treated it the same way as the first. Breathe, aim, squeeze the trigger smoothly. Another perfect shot. The crowd was no longer whispering. They were watching in silence. General Hayes was no longer smiling. His face had become serious as he realized that Maria might actually be as good as people said she was. But his pride would not let him accept that a woman could outshoot him and his male soldiers. The 300-yard target was the size of a dinner plate. Most soldiers would be happy to hit it anywhere. Maria hit it in the dead center. 3 perfect shots in a row. The crowd began to stir with excitement. Even soldiers who had doubted her were starting to pay attention. At this point, General Hayes made his second mistake. He walked closer to Maria and spoke in a voice that carried across the entire range. Anyone can get lucky 3 times. Let's see if she can handle the real distance shooting. I bet she chokes under pressure like all women do in combat. This comment was different from his earlier joke. This was a direct attack on all women in the military. Several female soldiers in the crowd looked angry. Some of the male soldiers looked uncomfortable. They knew that comments like this could end careers if reported to higher authorities. Maria still did not respond. She was focused on the 400-yard target, which looked tiny through her rifle scope. The wind had picked up slightly, which would affect the bullet's path. She observed the flags along the range to judge the wind speed and direction. She made a small adjustment to her aim and fired. Perfect shot number 4. The crowd was no longer just watching. They were witnessing something special. Word was spreading to other parts of the base and more soldiers were arriving to see what was happening. The shooting range was becoming crowded with spectators. General Hayes was now visibly upset. His face had turned red and he was pacing back and forth behind the firing line. He had organized this competition to embarrass Maria, but instead she was making him look foolish in front of hundreds of soldiers. The final target was 500 yards away. It was the size of a small plate and would challenge even the best military snipers. Most soldiers would never attempt a shot like this with a standard rifle. The slightest mistake in breathing, trigger pull, or wind judgment would result in a miss. Before Maria could prepare for her final shot, General Hayes made his third and biggest mistake. He stopped pacing and spoke in a voice filled with anger and desperation. This is exactly why women don't belong in combat roles. They might get lucky on a shooting range, but when real bullets are flying and people are dying, they'll freeze up like scared little girls. No woman has the mental strength to handle real warfare. This comment crossed a line that should never be crossed. It was not just inappropriate, it was against military regulations. The discrimination was clear and public. Several officers in the crowd looked shocked. They knew that comments like this could end a career, regardless of rank or years of service. Maria finally looked up from her rifle. For the first time that day, she made eye contact with General Hayes. Her expression was calm, but her eyes showed that she had heard every word he said. She did not speak, but her message was clear. She would let her shooting do the talking. The 500-yard target looked impossibly small through her scope. The wind was gusty and unpredictable. The pressure of the moment would have broken most people. Maria had hundreds of soldiers watching her, waiting to see if she could complete what many considered an impossible feat. She controlled her breathing one more time. The world became quiet around her. Her father's voice echoed in her memory from all those years of practice on the ranch. Don't think about the shot, just make the shot. She squeezed the trigger with steady pressure, following through completely. The bullet flew through the air for what seemed like forever. At 500 yards, even a tiny mistake would be magnified into a complete miss. The electronic target system took a moment to register the hit. Perfect shot number 5. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Soldiers were shouting and whistling. Even officers who usually remained composed were clapping enthusiastically. Maria had just accomplished something that very few soldiers could ever do. 5 perfect shots at increasing distances with a standard military rifle. But the story was not over. As Maria was removing the magazine from her rifle and making it safe, General Hayes made his final mistake. Perhaps driven by embarrassment or anger, he shouted over the crowd noise, "This doesn't prove anything. Any woman who thinks she can fight alongside real soldiers is delusional. They're all weak and emotional and they'll get good men killed in combat." This comment was heard by everyone present. It was the final straw that would end his career. Unknown to General Hayes, the entire competition had been recorded by the base's security cameras and audio systems. Every inappropriate comment he made was now documented evidence that could be used against him. More importantly, among the crowd of spectators was Colonel Patricia Johnson, the base's equal opportunity officer. She was responsible for investigating discrimination and harassment cases. She had heard every word that General Hayes said, and she was already making notes on her phone. Also in the crowd was Lieutenant Colonel Michael Stevens, who worked directly for the base commander. He had come to watch the shooting competition, but instead witnessed a clear case of military misconduct by a senior officer. Within 15 minutes of Maria's final shot, both Colonel Johnson and Lieutenant Colonel Stevens were walking toward the base commander's office. They carried written statements of everything they had witnessed, along with the names of dozens of other soldiers who could serve as witnesses. By 11:15 a.m., less than 2 hours after the competition began, General Hayes received a phone call ordering him to report to the base commander immediately. He was told to bring his service record and be prepared for a formal interview. The base commander, General Robert Martinez, had served in the military for 32 years. He had seen many cases of misconduct, but rarely had he seen such a clear example of discrimination happening in public with so many witnesses. The evidence against General Hayes was overwhelming. General Hayes tried to defend his comments by saying they were taken out of context or that he was just joking around. But the recorded evidence and witness statements made his defense impossible. He had clearly violated military regulations regarding discrimination and created a hostile work environment. The investigation moved quickly because the evidence was so clear. Within 72 hours, General Hayes was informed that he would face a formal military tribunal. He could either accept immediate retirement with reduced benefits or fight the charges and risk a court-martial that would end his career in disgrace. Faced with these options, General Hayes chose immediate retirement. His 30-year military career ended not with honor and ceremony, but with shame and disgrace. He would lose his command position, his security clearance, and his reputation within the military community. Meanwhile, Maria continued her duties as if nothing had happened. She did not celebrate General Hayes's downfall or speak publicly about the incident. She had proven her point with her actions, not with words. Her perfect shooting performance became legendary on the base, and her professional response to harassment earned her respect from soldiers at all levels. 3 months later, Maria received a promotion to major. Her new position included responsibilities for training other soldiers in marksmanship and combat readiness. The base commander personally selected her for this role, recognizing that her skills and professionalism made her an ideal leader. The story of the shooting competition spread throughout the military community. It became an example of how discrimination and harassment would not be tolerated, regardless of the rank of the person involved. It also highlighted the exceptional abilities of soldiers who had been underestimated because of their gender. General Hayes, now retired, found that his reputation followed him into civilian life. Military contractors and defense companies knew about his forced retirement, making it difficult for him to find employment in his field of expertise. His inappropriate comments, which had seemed so powerful when he made them, had actually revealed his own weakness and insecurity. Maria's story became inspiration for many female soldiers who had faced similar discrimination. They learned that the best response to prejudice was excellence in performance, combined with proper reporting through official channels when regulations were violated. The shooting range where the competition took place was eventually renamed the Maria Fernandez Excellence in Marksmanship Range, in honor of her achievement and professionalism. A plaque near the entrance tells the story of how one soldier's accuracy and dignity defeated ignorance and prejudice. Years later, Maria would rise to the rank of colonel and command her own unit. Her soldiers, both male and female, knew that they served under an officer who had proven herself under pressure and had never compromised her principles for political gain. The lesson of that morning at 9:30 a.m. was simple but powerful. Skill, professionalism, and integrity will always triumph over prejudice and ignorance. In just 15 seconds, one perfect shot had ended a career built on discrimination and opened doors for countless others who deserved equal opportunity. General Hayes had thought he was organizing a shooting competition to embarrass a female soldier. Instead, he had created the circumstances for his own downfall. His career ended not because of enemy action or budget cuts, but because of his own prejudice and unprofessional conduct. Maria's 5 perfect shots proved that excellence knows no gender. Her quiet dignity in the face of harassment showed that true strength comes from character, not from the ability to intimidate others. In the end, the general who ridiculed her accuracy found that his own career could not survive even 15 seconds of her precision.